Alright, it is time for one of my favorite teams to watch draft over the years, the Utah Mammoth. The Utah Mammoth debuted their jerseys this year at the draft, and I gotta say, mwah, beautiful. I want one. They're great. Welcome to the NHL. Classic branding. Just grows on me every time I see it. This is a team that is, in my world, notorious for drafting the biggest group of players that you can possibly find. On paper, they are the biggest pipeline in the NHL, and it's not particularly close. Ottawa's pretty close, but other than that, they're kind of on an island by themselves. And what did Utah do at 4th overall? Drafted a guy that was almost guaranteed to be drafted in the top 5, even if I wouldn't have done it in Caleb Dane Hayter. I was not as huge a fan of Dane Hayter this year as everybody else. I felt he was a top 15 young player in the world. Clearly, a lot of people thought he was a top 5 or top 10 player in the world. There is a bit of a difference there, but it's not that big on paper. But for me, Dane Hayter is a player that is just a little bit limited, but the offensive tools are some of the best in the draft. He may not have the elite level skill or pace of play that guys like a Hagens might have, but he does bring a sense of timing and hockey sense that is really, really admirable. He rarely makes bad plays with the puck in the offensive zone. His patience, his timing is excellent, impeccable stuff. For me, I felt he benefited from an extremely talented group of players around him that did a lot of hard work for him on the ice, but once they got the puck to him in the neutral zone or at the offensive blue line, he was lights out. I think Utah drafts a lot of players that are like the ones that Caleb Dane Hayter shared the ice with. Julius Sumpf and Juraj Pekarczyk are big, pretty heavy, but pacey guys who play with physical intensity and are able to defer the puck to other players. I think Utah has a bunch of those in the system as well, so maybe they see Dane Hayter as a really great fit that they can sort of isolate and protect and insulate offensively. So with that out of the way, I see the logic behind this pick. For me, with Dane Hayter, in terms of 200-foot impact that I look for with the highest picks of a given NHL draft, I just didn't quite see it with him, but I guess for what he is, he could be very good at it in the NHL. He just will need, I think, the right surroundings, and I think Utah, with all of the players they've drafted over the last little while, will be able to provide that for him. At 46th, they drafted Max Senichka, and look, he's gigantic, he's a pretty good skater. The rest, I think, is a big work in progress. I felt that Senichka's game on the puck was really rough at times in terms of making first passes, finding ways to get the puck out of danger without just slapping it to an opponent's stick. He was a player, though, that I think times his stick checks very well, and on the defensive side of the game, by and large, is pretty good. It's just that close quarters defending and guys getting through him that are a little bit quicker. Maybe those smaller, more agile, skilled guys can find a way around his giant frame a little bit easier than you would like, but that's something that you can develop. And I mean, look, again, teams were absolutely all over every single giant defenseman who could skate decently well this year, and Senichka is one of the better ones in terms of how big he is and how good he is on his feet. So it's an interesting upside bet. I liked Senichka actually last summer in the preseason of the Czech Pro League, and I was a little bit surprised to see him not make the team out of camp there, but he did work his way up there a little bit, and you definitely see what's possible there, especially once he played with Moose Jaw this year. We'll see what happens, but this is an interesting upside bet that at 46 wasn't the best guy on my board, but he still was ranked in my second round, and we'll see what happens. At 78, they drafted Stepan Hoch, who is 6'4", but I did like what I saw of him over the course of this season. Similar to players we talked about in this series before, he's pretty raw. I do think that the skill level for a big guy and the finishing ability for a big guy is better than you would expect, but the rest of the picture is still a pretty long ways away. He's not the highest pace guy, he's not the most physical guy, he doesn't have the quickest set of feet in the world, but you can definitely see the potential for something there over the next little while. I would expect him to be a guy that's playing pro hockey maybe if he doesn't come over to North America in the CHL, but this is a guy who I think does bring some interesting traits that big guys can have, and for what Utah seems to like, which is developing and drafting the biggest possible NHL team, he fits that pretty well and comes along with some good skill and offensive ability. At 110th overall, they went back to the KHL, and they've done this before with Vadim Moroz, but they drafted a re-entry KHL player who's scored a lot of points, Jaggor Boricov. Now, I've seen Boricov quite a few times this year because my model flagged him as a potential guy to target because of his production, but I don't know if I buy it. I think that this is a guy who really thrives in the softer, more open defensive structure of the KHL. He's not the biggest guy around. I don't think he brings that elite level skill that you kind of want. He's a guy that I thought in the KHL was fine, but looked like just about every other offensive KHLer playing in a top 6 somewhere, where he's a decent shooter, he's got some skill, but nothing really shines consistently, and he's not the most high-paced guy. Again, it's 110th overall, so if you get anything here, fine, and he is a productive scorer. He just didn't really pass my smell test for a re-entry player that I definitely wanted to go after and snag. At 142nd, they drafted Ivan Kachchenko. I've seen this guy a few times this year, and he is one of the most adventurous goaltenders available. He is fun. I saw a clip earlier this season of Kachchenko skating all the way out of his net to the half wall and trying to skill move off the boards to shake off a forechecker. It didn't work, but it was fun to watch, and I think he is one of the more entertaining goaltenders that I've seen this year. His numbers were fine, but not amazing, even when you look under the hood a little bit. But overall, he was an athletic specimen in net. He is confident with the puck on his stick, and maybe Utah sees something there. You can leave him in Russia for a long time, and yeah, I could see something here in the future. It's just, he's an adventure. We'll say that. All right, at 174th, strap in. There's probably, I don't know, 2 people on the planet who care about this at all, and I'm one of them. Ludvig Johnson at 174th overall. I can't tell you how surprised I am that the Utah Hockey Club, out of all teams in the NHL, took a swing on Ludvig Johnson at 174th this year. I would have loved to see how that discussion went, because Johnson was a guy that I had ranked in the 2nd round this year. He's also a guy that I had ranked last year lower than where I had him this year. To say Ludvig Johnson outperformed my expectations this season as a Draft Plus 1 player would be a real understatement. He is absolutely taken a huge step in his game, even from the beginning of this season to the end. Last season, I mentioned Johnson as a player that was this close to being a really exciting offensive defenseman in the Switzerland leagues. Wherever he played, I really loved the confidence, the skill level, but the ability to keep things effective and simple and efficient. Really, really strong offensive mindset from Johnson. It's just the defensive side of things was a big work in progress. He was getting beat in close quarters, driven out wide and beaten because his footwork wasn't amazing laterally. But at the end of the day, I mean, I loved him through and through. And to see him drafted as a Draft Plus 1 is really promising. I really thought he was excellent at the World Juniors this year. He's a member of Team Scouching from last season, so you're welcome, Utah, if, you know, maybe there's a connection there. But at the end of the day, Ludvig Johnson, I think, could be one of the more impressive players to come out of this draft class for the Utah Hockey Club. He's a player that even got himself into a few exhibition games with the Swiss men's team this year. So this is a guy who is on the radar in Swiss hockey now after being a middle pair junior league player last year that caught my eye while watching Leon Mugli, and I went, I think I like this guy better. And I felt a little bit crazy, but here we are a year and a half later, and Ludvig Johnson is a member of the team that I think I would have expected the least to be interested in him. Truth is stranger than fiction, and here we are. So all the best to Utah here for this. I love this pick. All the best to Ludvig, and congratulations, because he deserves it. His game has come a long way. I can't say enough about him. I think this is a really, really good pickup for where they took him. Is he an NHL player? We'll see. But as a re-entry, he was one of my favorites and has been a favorite to watch of mine for years. And at 182nd, they picked up Reco Alano. Now, Alano was a player flagged to me in my Instagram DMs. I won't say by whom, but I went and watched him, and then I kind of went, yeah, Utah picked this guy. There's no doubt about it that this guy is part of what they want. He's gigantic. That's about it. I didn't see much in terms of upside there. He's a blank slate. It's 182nd overall. They took a giant, but at the end of the day, I don't really care. So is Alano a thing? Probably not, but long-term bet, who knows? Development can do a lot for a player. So for the Utah Hockey Club, I'm giving them a 1D. Now, I really do believe in Caleb Danewaye's upside, but my philosophy turns him into a bit more of a limited player, I think, than he's advertised as, but what he brings to the table will be very valuable. So that really anchors them in that top tier of upside. They have a lot of guys that I think can do a lot of that heavy lifting that guys did for Danewaye this year. And on the upside as well, Danewaye came out at the end of the season and went, both of my wrists were injured pretty much all year, which throws a wrench into the whole analysis, because how much better would he have been if his wrists were good? I don't know the answer to that question, and I don't think anybody can know the answer to that question, so you're taking a bet that the answer to that question is he's going to be way, 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 way better with the puck on his stick than he was already, which outside the offensive zone I think was a work in progress. But once in the offensive zone, the hockey sense is elite. The playmaking ability is elite. I see the logic behind it, so that starts off a really solid draft class for them. Senichka is a really good toolsy guy, big, really good fluid skater with some skill as well. I think it'll be a matter of development and patience and experience with him, just taking baby steps every month just to get a little bit more reliable on the puck, a little bit more confident, and a little bit stronger off the puck as well, that I think could lead him down a really positive path. Kachchenko is an interesting upside bet in net, and he certainly is a lot of fun to watch at times. I adore Ludvig Johnson, and he was ranked higher than Senichka for me. I think there's just so much runway with Johnson. I said last season that he kind of plays like Lane Hudson a little bit, but definitely does have a lot of the same issues that Hudson does, and I just want to see Johnson pushed more. Just keep pushing and pushing and pushing, because when he does push things offensively, he can do some pretty amazing stuff. And so for me, I really like that pickup, and that also helps boost them up quite a bit. Alano, Boricov, and Hodge, give them a few years, we'll see what happens. None of them really move the needle a whole lot for me. So in those areas, I might have gone a different direction, so that widens the scope of their potential outcomes, and I do think Dane Hayter's potential outcomes are wide as well, so that gives them the D rating here, but a 1 certainly I think belongs to the Utah Hockey Club this year. I thought they did a pretty solid job, all things considered, and now that I know what they look for in a player, they certainly went out and did more of that again this year, so we'll see what happens. And with that, we're going to call it. If you liked the video, definitely like and subscribe. If you really liked it, definitely consider a subscription over at Scouching.ca, where you can get access to all kinds of fun data tools and our Discord server, and plenty of other fun stuff that you're just not going to find anywhere else on the internet, so check that out at Scouching.ca. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.